What you just witnessed is some gripping footage which our cameras captured in an aftermath of a shooting which took place near the Piliandala junction, and we will have a comprehensive report on this story in the bulletin. A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to the News at 9, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. I'm Joel Outscoon with tonight's headlines. Sandra Beda is appointed to coordinate the investigation team to look into alleged war crimes in Sri Lanka. Asian Human Rights Commission says that an independent probe needs to be carried out on the death of an individual as a result of police fire in Pasiala. Landslide warning for 5 districts still in effect. Today is day 2 of the Uva Pozon zone. Devotees in their thousands pay homage to the relics. Lead actor of Sri Siddhartha Gautama movie Gagan Malik embraces Buddhism. Himanshu Ishan wins silver in the 100 meters at the Asian Junior Athletic Championship. Let's now cross over to our Newsfirst studios for a comprehensive news bulletin.
Well, thank you, Joel, for bringing us tonight's headlines. Hello, good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News live from the Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Nadim Majid.
I'm Sonali Wanik-Papage. We can start off with one of your top stories for tonight. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has reportedly appointed an official to coordinate the probe into war crimes allegations in Sri Lanka. International media reports say that Navi Pillay has appointed Sandra Bedas to coordinate the investigations team.
According to international media, Rupert Colville, spokesperson for the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, or the OHCHR, said Bedas would, quote, coordinate the investigation team, unquote. Reports say this unit would be staffed by 12 members, including 2 forensic experts, a legal analyst, a gender specialist, and investigators. International media quoted Colville as saying that there was also a secondary team comprising of external experts who would accompany the investigation team and provide independent verification of the investigation's integrity. Bedas, a British national, previously worked with the UN mission in South Sudan before being expelled from the country in November 2012 after being accused of writing false reports about the conduct of the South Sudanese military. However, Pillay denied the accusations levelled against her staff member and accused the South Sudanese government of being, quote, in breach of its legal obligations under the UN Charter, unquote. Sandra Bedas, who is working for Navi Pillay's office, was also banned by Somalia in 2011. The OHCHR has allocated a sum of over $1.1 million for the investigation into alleged war crimes in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan government has said that it would not cooperate with the investigation. Speaking in Geneva on Tuesday, Sri Lanka's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Ravinatha Aryasinghe, said reports had emerged questioning the credibility of the official appointed to coordinate the investigation.
While the prejudice and bias concerning Sri Lanka, repeatedly displayed by the High Commissioner and the OHCHR, remains of deep concern, reports which question the credibility of the coordinator appointed for the investigation have already emerged. It is ironic that the resolution calls on Sri Lanka and the OHCHR to conduct parallel investigations.
Now, this topic is also being discussed extensively here at home. Let's take a look at some of the views expressed on the political stage.
We do not agree with the intervention of the UN. After carrying out various activities, the President and a group of his close associates are now asking about the views of Parliament. The President, who did not pay any heed to matters that were discussed in Parliament and to the revelations that were made in Parliament, has now decided to inquire about the views of Parliament in this regard. If decisions reached by the United Nations are defeated by parliaments of each nation, then there is no point in such an organization existing. This is a political ploy to divert the activities of the UN.
Meanwhile, speaking at the UN Human Rights Council session in Geneva yesterday, Ravinatha Aryasinghe said that the humanitarian crisis can be overcome with political commitment.
Of late, there appears to be a new tendency by some sections of the international community to undervalue and downplay the tremendous humanitarian effort the government of Sri Lanka has made, as though it is easy or negligible. This shows disrespect not only to the government of Sri Lanka, but most of all to those who at last emerge from the suffering caused by 30 years of terrorist conflict. Finally, Mr. President, in contrast to the considerable challenges in humanitarian crisis that continue to engulf many parts of the world, Sri Lanka's achievement provides confidence and hope that even the most severe and insurmountable of challenges can be overcome with necessary political commitment and dedication of the government concerned.
Moving away from Geneva and closer to home, the Chief Minister of the Northern Province has expressed confidence that the government of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Tamil Nadu will not be at variance with regard to the needs of the Tamil people. In an interview with India's The Hindu newspaper, C.V. Vigneswaran said Tamil Nadu is intricately intertwined in the political complexity in India. Speaking to The Hindu, Vigneswaran said that Modi seems to have identified the priorities as far as the immediate needs of the TNA are concerned. He added that while Modi has impressed the same on Sri Lankan leaders, it is now for the Sri Lankan government to take the cue and act fast. When questioned on the Northern Provincial Council not taking up the Indo-Lanka fisheries issue in any significant way, Vigneswaran said that while the NPC had taken it up in the initial stages, it was pointed out later that inland waterways were the prerogative of the Provincial Council, while seashore problems come under the central government. He said, quote, "Since the government fisheries minister was showing an interest in the problems of our fishermen folk, we have taken a back seat," unquote. While adding that the NPC would come in if their input is required, Vigneswaran added that from a democratic and pragmatic perspective, it is, quote, "strange that the elected representatives of the affected region are not being asked to take a lead role," unquote.
The Asian Human Rights Commission says that the police officers who shot and killed the youth Subhash Indika Jayasinghe in Pasiala Nittambua should be tried and punished on murder charges. The AHRC says that the investigation should be conducted by a team of independent experts.
The Asian Human Rights Commission notes that delays in the investigation will lead to the creation of an environment where police officers would be allowed to continue to commit such crimes with impunity. The Commission also mentions the recent incident where police had fired on a three-wheeler in Katunayaka and had instead struck a bystander. The Asian Human Rights Commission says that the Sri Lanka police are lawless and lack discipline. The Commission notes that this situation needs to be addressed, and it is against such lawlessness and indiscipline that the people are protesting. Here is an excerpt from the statement. Instead of addressing the virtual collapse of the policing system, the Ministry of Defence has issued pistols to all police officers. The Ministry of Defence should be held responsible for the violence being caused by police officers with these weapons. And the Sri Lankan public should protest against the policy of allowing police officers to carry dangerous weapons. End of extract. The Asian Human Rights Commission adds that shooting people to stop traffic violations is a ludicrous explanation. Lawyers point out that the use of minimal force should not end in death. When we made inquiries, an officer attached to the Nittambua police informed us that the officers in question had been in possession of a police motorcycle when the incident occurred. Lawyers say that in such an event, what the officers should have done is chase down the suspect who failed to heed their signal. However, as is evident, this did not transpire.
With regard to minimum force, according to the law that we know, according to the law of this country, Section 32 of the Code of Criminal Procedures notes that the police can arrest a person without a warrant for failing to heed signals. Section 57 of the Police Act 2 states that even when there is a warrant, the police officers cannot use unnecessary force. The arrest should be made within the legal framework. Police officers do not have the privilege of using unnecessary force or to take the law into their own hands.
Saveen Chaturanga, a friend of Subhash Indika, who was the pillion rider on the motorcycle, says that the police officers were under the influence of alcohol.
The police officers put out their hands and we stopped the motorcycle. We stopped on the Kandy Road in Pasiala, Nittambua. They quickly came close to us and fired. We fell down. The police officers were drunk. There were 5 of them.
When Newsfirst made inquiries, the police noted that a medical report would have to be obtained to state if the police officers in question were under the influence of alcohol. Journalists questioned the police media spokesperson at a media briefing convened yesterday on how the victim had been shot in the chest if in fact the officers had been firing at the motorcycle.
As the media spokesperson, I cannot give an opinion on this.
Have you been informed of this?
I have been informed it is the judicial medical officer who is conducting the post-mortem examination that has the power to make a statement on that.
The police officers say that they fired because the motorcyclist did not heed their calls when they flagged him down. But the pillion rider who survived gave a statement which you could have not mentioned. Can you tell us now, if possible, what that youth said?
The youth notes in his statement that they had come forward and had stopped and had attempted to move again. He says he was seated behind when the gun was fired. That is what he says in his statement.
යන්න උත්සාහ කරා මේ අවස්ථාවකදී මම පිටිපස්ස සිටියේ මේ වෙඩි වැදීම වුණා කියලා. ඔය එක තමයි ඒ තරුණයාගේ ප්‍රකාශය සඳහන් වෙන්නේ.
The body of the victim of the police shooting, Subhash Indika Jayasinghe, was brought to his home in Kitulwala, Mirigama early this morning. The 23-year-old was a father of one.
අක්ෂරට මගේ පුතා ගියා ඇඳගෙන මගේ ළමයා නැවැත්තුවලු අනේ නැවැත්තුවල පාදේ ළඟට ගිහින් පිටෝලේ තියලා වෙඩි තිබ්බා කියන්නේ
මේගොල්ලෝ එහෙම හප්පගෙන යන්න ආපු කට්ටිය නෙමෙයි මොකද බයික් එකක් ඇවිල්ලා හප්පගෙන යන්න බෑ බල්ලෙක් හැප්පුවත් බයික් එක පෙරලෙනවා ඉතින් ඒ වගේ අවස්ථාවක මේ පොලිසියෙන් කියන්නේ බොරුවක් කියලා මේ මුළු ලෝකෙම පැහැදිලිව පේනවා එහෙම අවස්ථාවකදී පොලිසිය හදන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝගේ වරද වහගන්න මේගොල්ලන්ට නැවත පාරක් වරද පටවන්න
කිසිම අවස්ථාවක තමන්ට මරණීය තුවාලයක් සිදු නොවන අවස්ථාවක
Our law has not given any individual or police officer the right to use a firearm against an unarmed individual when there is no fatal wound to them. I believe that at this instance, this police officer must be arrested and produced in court.
පොලිස් නිලධාරී මහත්මයාව අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන අධිකරණයට ඉදිරිපත් කළ යුතුයි.
What are your views on the shooting by the police that claimed the life of one individual in Pasiala? You can log on to our Facebook page and post your comments there.
The police officer who discharged his weapon in Heenatiyana Katunayake yesterday has been interdicted. The police media spokesperson said that disciplinary action will be taken in this regard.
According to police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rohana, the police officer had opened fire against a three-wheeler that failed to heed orders. However, the officer had missed his target and an innocent bystander was shot. The victim has been identified as 31-year-old Dilip Kumara, a resident of Heenatiyana in Nugegodawalla. The victim had earned a living by preparing choir ropes. Dilip is a father of two and also takes care of his father, who is a victim of paralysis. He was shot at while he was in his garden collecting palms for an almsgiving.
The police had been chasing a three-wheeler. They opened fire and it was my husband who was shot in the hand. He has undergone a surgery at the Gampa hospital. We prepare coir ropes and he also takes labour jobs. We call on the authorities to ensure that justice is meted out.
According to hospital sources, the victim is not in a critical condition.
An officer attached to the Valigama police committed suicide today by jumping in front of a train.
The police say that the officer had jumped in front of the oncoming train on the coastal line in the Aranwala area in Ahangama. He was run over by the Sagarika train plying from Matara to Maradana. The deceased has been identified as 52-year-old Upali Senarath, a constable attached to the Valigama police. Our reporter says that Constable Senarath was a father of four.
When I was with my husband passing this area at around 5:20, I witnessed the police constable lying on the ground.
The body of a woman with her throat slit was discovered from the Galkulia area in Parliament, Chilao.
38-year-old T.N. Dilukshi from Mundalama was found murdered in her house last evening. She was a mother of a 6-year-old girl.
I was inside the house. I heard a noise. The child came out and screamed. When I looked inside, all I saw was a pool of blood.
She was on the ground. There were wounds on her head. The child told us that she was stabbed. I took her to a hospital in a 3-wheeler.
The police have cast their suspicions on an individual who had held contact with the deceased and say that he had fled the area.
Spouse who murdered his wife with the use of a sharp weapon in Karukatiya Puttalam commits suicide. Body of a woman with laceration marks found in close proximity to the Gampala hospital. A person who was found unconscious next to the remains of the woman admitted to the hospital by the police. Man murders his spouse with a sharp weapon after a family dispute in Madhuhamana, Attana Kadavala. For your attention.
NTV Sports News First, brought to you by Envergrow A+.
Welcome back to the news. Well, the extreme weather conditions brought on by the activation of the southwestern monsoon system are continuing to affect many parts of the island. Earth slips and landslides have been reported from several areas in the Central Hills and the Kaluthara districts. Newsfirst Stephanie Lazarus joins us now from the Weather Centre with the latest.
Well, thank you, Lavdeem. Taking a look at some of the stories relating to the weather conditions around the island, the Disaster Management Centre says that the landslide warning issued by the National Building and Research Organisation for 5 districts continues to remain in effect. The Met Department, meanwhile, notes that the effects of the monsoonal winds have dissipated somewhat in comparison with yesterday. Now, heavy rainfall affected many parts of the island yesterday, with the Ratnapura and Nurelia districts the worst affected.
People from several areas in the Lower Elia district have been evacuated from their homes owing to the prevailing extreme weather conditions. Lower Elia District Secretary DPG Kumarasamy said that 518 individuals from 104 families had been evacuated and are being sheltered at 12 camps. Debris from an earth slip which fell on the Hatton-Colombo main road in Diagala has been cleared. Our reporter says that an operation also commenced today to remove an earth embankment which collapsed on the Hatton-Colombo railway line near the 99th kilometre post in Galabada. Meanwhile, a landslide flattened a home in Samanpura, Watawala last evening. Fortunately, there was no one inside the building. Our reporters say that several earth slips and landslides are witnessed on the Hatton Lower Elia and Hatton-Colombo roads. Several homes in the Kadavala estate in Ginigathena in the Lower Elia district were damaged in earth slips. The displaced residents are being temporarily sheltered at Vigneshwara College, Kandavala. Several areas including Agarpadana, Torrington and Colebrook were inundated. A 65-year-old man was injured when an earth embankment collapsed onto a home in Singanagawatha and has been hospitalized. An earth embankment also collapsed onto a home in the Ganepalla area in Yatiyantota. Our report says that the inhabitants are being temporarily sheltered at a rubber factory in the area. Meanwhile, a tree collapsed onto another home in Nagastanna, Yatiyantota. No casualties were reported.
Water levels of several reservoirs in the area have risen as a result of heavy rainfall. However, the rainfall that was experienced in the area has now eased.
Ratnapura District Secretary Dunil Kannangara, speaking to Newsfirst, said the floodwaters have begun to recede gradually.
What you see is an inundated area in the Veralupa area in Ratnapura. Now the time is 1:45 p.m. and if I am to tell you about the current weather condition, a slight drizzle was experienced in the area a few minutes ago. Now, as you can see, the water levels in the area are now going down.
Several low-lying areas in the Ratnapura district, including Muagama, Veralupa, Angammana, Batugedera and Muttua, were inundated by the heavy rains. A Newsfirst crew inspected the Muagama water level gorge this afternoon.
We are underneath the Muagama bridge in the Ratnapura area. Now, as you can see in the meter gauge behind me, the meter reads as 5.56 meters. Now, according to the officials in the area, this can be considered as a not so critical situation. But however, if the meter reaches up to 6 meters, it can be considered of high risk.
Low-lying areas in Alapata, Dimiyawa, Dambulua and Pollegoda were also inundated. Newsfirst U reporter Jayantha Dhammapriya noted that floodwaters which inundated the Hangamwa-Karavita road have receded. U reporter Sanjay Thatuangu reported that the water level of the Hangamwa river had risen. Low-lying areas in Kuruvita, Gonapitiya, Patagama, Galukkama, Kiriyalla and Ayagama were also inundated. Several homes in these areas were also submerged. Our reporter says that transportation in rural areas of the Ratnapura district was affected. Our reporter says that students of the Kadugannawa Junior School were evacuated following a landslide which occurred at a lower elevation.
Newsfirst Dushani Nanaikara made inquiries from the Disaster Management Centre regarding the persisting risks of landslides.
What is the status of the landslide warning at present?
At present, as per the 24-hour warning issued by the NVRO, the people living near slopes in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Kegol, Ratnapura and Kalutara districts have been asked to exercise caution.
What message do you have to give to the people residing in areas for which landslide warnings have been issued?
If heavy rains are experienced in these areas over the next 24 hours, people residing in these areas should be cautious. They are informed and have an understanding of the prevailing situation, especially about earth slips in hilly areas.
අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා මෙම ප්‍රදේශවල පවතින තත්ත්වයන් විශේෂයෙන්ම කඳුකර ප්‍රදේශවල පස්කණ්ඩි කඩා වැටීම් සහ ගල් පෙරලීම් දැනටත් සිදු වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Is there an emergency hotline or a procedure in place to inform the Disaster Management Centre?
The Disaster Management Unit at the relevant district secretariats can be contacted at any time. At the same time, the main national office can be contacted on the hotline 117 between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m.
117 එහෙම නැත්නම් 117 දුරකථන අංකයෙන් කතා කරලා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් විස්තර කිව්වේ හැකි.
The Weather Centre also made inquiries from the Met Department on the prevailing weather conditions and the department's forecast for the coming days.
Yesterday, due to active monsoonal conditions, fairly heavy rainfalls have been reported from certain parts in the central region and also from the southwestern and from the Sabaragamuwa region. Today, the wind flow, southwestern monsoonal wind flow, is somewhat less active compared with yesterday. But however, we are expecting more rain in the central, western, Sabaragamuwa provinces and also in Gaul Mathura districts during the next few days.
The tragedy continues to strike many parts of the island with the continuing extreme weather conditions. Newsfirst received a report from Paduka where an 11-year-old girl drowned after falling into a waterway.
The girl, who was a resident of Homagama, had been visiting her grandmother in Arukwatha Ganegodawatha in Paduka. The police said that she had visited a dansala in the area with her younger brother and uncle yesterday. The girl had fallen into the waterway in the Arukwatha area while attempting to traverse a shoe bridge to get to the opposite bank and return home.
She had stopped saying her slipper had fallen off, and it was then that she had slipped and fallen. I got a call at around 10:30 p.m. saying that my son and daughter had been washed away in the floodwaters. My son was found in the Paduka hospital. We looked for the daughter everywhere, but we couldn't find her. She had slipped from here and gone up to about a kilometer. The body was found stuck on a tree. The officials don't care about this. Every time it rains in the area, the water comes up to around 4 to 5 feet.
The body of the girl, identified as Julie Methuselah, was recovered this afternoon. She was a grade 6 student at Homagama Central College. Her body is currently lying at the Paduka hospital.
Well, the Newsfirst Weather Centre is always on the lookout to bring you the latest details on the weather conditions around the island. That's it for now. Let's now cross over to the main desk for more.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Uwa Poson Udane, the Poson Zone organised by the Uwa Paranagama United Buddhist Organisation with the support of Newsfirst, commenced yesterday.
The Uwa Poson Udane Poson Zone is centred around the Sri Sudarshanarama Vihare in Uma Alla Uwa Paranagama. Newsfirst is a media sponsor of the Poson Zone organised by the Uwa Paranagama United Buddhist Organisation. The sacred hair relic of the Lord Buddha journeyed from the Yatihalgala Raja Mahavihare in Kandy to the Uwa Poson Udane Poson Zone last evening. Our reporter says that devotees flocked in their thousands last evening to pay homage to the sacred hair relic. Devotees visiting the Uwa Poson Udane also have the opportunity to take in the many pandals that have been constructed there, performances of songs of devotion and a replica of Meentale. Dance cells established at the Poson Zone are open today as well. The Poson Zone also features screenings of the award-winning biographical film Sri Siddhartha Gautama and Newsfirst's screen test. Devotees queued up today as well to pay homage to the sacred hair relic. The exposition of the sacred relic will continue until midnight.
Now, programs were organised in several parts of the island yesterday to celebrate Poson Poya Day. Let's take a look at some of the events that were held.
A performance of songs of devotion was held at the Dharmayatana Vihare in Narayanpeta yesterday. The event was organised under the auspices of the chief incumbent of the Vihare, Venerable Ulapane Sumangala Thera. The Poson Rice Dansala, organised annually by the youth of Siambalangoda, Polgas Ovita, was held this year as well. The Dansala, which was organised for the 10th year, was held at the Siambalangoda Junction. A performance of songs of devotion by the students of the Dhamma school at the Isipatarama Vihare in Timbirigasyaya was held at the Vihare yesterday. The 77th Hakmana Poson Zone was declared open yesterday by Minister Lakshman Yapa Abegunawardana. The Hakmana Poson Zone features many attractions including performances of songs of devotion.
The lead actor in the award-winning biopic Sri Siddhartha Gautama, Gagan Malik, embraced Buddhism at a special ceremony held at the Mihintale Sacred Grounds yesterday.
Gagan Malik, who arrived at the Mihintale Rajamahvihare last evening, first paid homage to Lord Buddha. Gagan Malik then visited the relic chamber where Venerable Kotapala Amarakirti Thera invoked blessings on him. The Mahasangha then chanted Pirit to invoke blessings on Gagan Malik, following which Venerable Balava Hangunuwave Dhammaratana Thera placed the relic casket on his head and blessed him. Ayubowan, I am speaking to you from the sacred grounds of Mihintale. Let us take the message of friendship, love and peace that was taught by Lord Buddha to the generation that will be entrusted with the future of this country. The Asia World Foundation has gifted the film Sri Siddhartha Gautama to the entire world.
आध्यात्मिक शांति ऐति किरीमा उदेसाय मगे जीवितेमा
I wish to state from this sacred ground that I will commit my life to follow the teachings of Lord Buddha. Let us, in the spirit of friendship, take this great Dhamma to the rest of the world from within Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka tunin mulu lovatema mema dham regana yam obasanada samma subutu sarana.
We believe that it is a special occasion today because a popular artist from the Bharat nation, from where the teachings of Lord Buddha spread, has thought about the principles of Panchasila and has decided to embrace the teachings of Lord Buddha. Our artist Gagan Malik has today come into the Buddhist world and has shined a light on the Sasana. He has embraced the Dhamma with a good understanding of it. We bless him for a good future. Meanwhile, the film Sri Siddhartha Gautama was screened at the Mihintale Sacred Grounds yesterday.
The much-awaited 2014 FIFA World Cup kicked off in Sao Paulo last night in the midst of a sea of yellow and green in a colourful opening ceremony.
And following the tournament's opening match, celebrations broke out in Rio as Brazilian poster boy Neymar showed why he is carrying the hopes of a nation on his shoulders, scoring twice to help the underwhelming hosts escape a disappointing start to the tournament. Newsfirst Zulfiq Fazan joins us with a comprehensive report.
After nearly a decade of planning, 4 years of anxiety, riots, strikes, construction deaths, and a host of other obstacles, the FIFA World Cup 2014 kicked off at the Arena Corinthians. The Arena Corinthians was in its full capacity with over 65,000 fans, mostly in green and yellow, gathered to witness the opening of the biggest sporting event of the year. The cast of 660 dancers paid tribute to the country's nature, people and football, with a show around a living ball on the Arena de Sao Paulo pitch. The final act saw a performance of the official World Cup song We Are One by Jennifer Lopez, Claudia and rapper Pitbull. There was a frenetic start in Sao Paulo with an own goal by Brazil's Marcelo, giving the opposing Croatians a shocking 1-0 lead early on, making it the opening goal of the tournament. Brazil got off to a slow start in its home tournament. Defender Marcelo found his own net while trying to clear a low cross by Ivica Olic in the 11th minute, stunning the crowd of more than 62,100 packing the Itaquera Stadium. With Brazil struggling and down a goal against a spirited Croatian team, Neymar came through to lead his team to a 3-1 win in the opening match, scoring once in each half. What eventually proved to be the winning goal to put Brazil 2-1 up was a controversial penalty awarded by Japanese referee Yuichi Nishimura. As Croatia searched desperately for an equalizer, the impressive Oscar added to the scoring in the first minute of injury time with a toe poke from just outside the penalty area to make it 3-1.
The Investment Forum on Myanmar in Sri Lanka, or IFMS-L, the first ever investment forum in Sri Lanka to promote investment opportunities in emerging markets for Sri Lankan companies, was held in Colombo last evening. Newsfirst has the details.
IMFSL is a joint initiative of Adam Innovations Corporations Limited of Japan, Adam Lanka Private Limited and the Sri Lanka International Chamber of Commerce. The forum was attended by prominent members of the business community, politicians and other dignitaries. The Myanmarese delegation highlighted opportunities for Sri Lankan companies to invest in Myanmar.
I am now fully enjoying some of the items which we are exporting will be competing your product. But if we cooperate, it will provide a win-win situation for both of us. And in some sector, we can complement each other.
Now we are gradually liberalizing our financial and banking sector. So as our country and Sri Lanka has a long history of the relationship, so we would like to invite our colleagues and business community in Sri Lanka to come and visit to our country, so which can promote our win-win benefit both our country and Sri Lanka.
The 180th feast of the St. Anthony's Church Kochikade commenced yesterday.
The Vesper service at the St. Anthony Shrine was presided by His Eminence, Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit, the Archbishop of Colombo. Scores of Catholic devotees participated in the religious ceremony.
Himasha Eshan won the silver medal in the 100 meters boys event at the Asian Junior Athletics Championships in Chinese Taipei, clocking a time of 10.49 seconds. This is incidentally his personal best performance.
And moving on to cricket news, an unbeaten double century by English middle order batsman Joe Root revived the English innings on day 2 of the first test against Sri Lanka. The game is currently being played at Lord's Cricket Ground. England resumed day 2 with an overnight score of 344 for the loss of 5 wickets. Matt Pryor was the first of all. He was dismissed for 86 by Sharminder Eranga. Chris Jordan, who came in next, became Sharminder Eranga's second wicket of the day. The hosts lost their next 2 wickets, one of Stuart Broad and the other of Liam Plunkett, within the next few overs. However, thanks to the efforts of Joe Root, who recorded his maiden double test century today, England managed to amass 575 runs for the loss of 9 wickets before declaring their innings. Nawan Pradeep was the chief destroyer for Sri Lanka, bagging 4 wickets, while Sharminder Eranga claimed 3 English caps. Batting in their first innings, Sri Lanka were 86 for the loss of 1 wicket, a short while ago.
He's gone for his... It's done, Barn. Will it get touched?
And finally, a ceremony to welcome the contestants who advanced to the semi-final round of Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first ever sports reality program, took place today at the Vidyaratna University College in Horana.
Super Fighter.
5 competitors from Vidyaratna University College in Horana have been selected to the semi-final round of Super Fighter, which is also the highest number of competitors representing one single school. Madhushanka Haduvela and Kasun Madhuranga are competing under the 49 kg weight class, while Indranil Koduarachi will be competing in the 52 kg weight class. Banuka Jayampati will compete in the 56 kg weight class, while Sandeepa Samarasinghe will battle it out in the 60 kg weight class. They were presented with medals at this ceremony. These 5 boxers will take part in exhibition bouts at the event that will take place at the Horana Urban Council grounds tonight, along with a musical show which will witness the participation of the 12 finalists of Sirsa Superstar Season 6.
Super Fighter.
And that's a wrap on tonight's news. I'm Sonali Baduge.
And I'm Nadim Majid. As always, it was a pleasure having you with us. Just a reminder that you can keep abreast of all the news we're following here at News First by visiting our website, newsfirst.lk. You can also follow us on Twitter on the handle at newsfirst_en. Good night and good luck.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.